Welcome back to the aisle. This is a really important episode to me because I feel like as a female entrepreneur, this is something that a lot of people actually struggle with. A female entrepreneur that has kids, it's really hard to determine what you want to do and what you want to be in life. Like, do you want to solely devote to your children? Do you want to solely devote to a career? You can have your cake and eat it too. You can do both, but like, what does that look like? How many hours in the day are there? So I'm going to share some really personal struggles that I have been through. Some things as like just full-time mama, full-time entrepreneur, full-time partner, full-time daughter, sister, friend. It's like everything just kind of takes a lot and you have to wear a lot of hats, but like I promise it's all so worth it. So I'm just going to get really vulnerable on this episode and talk about what bothers me the most on trying to balance everything. And I think it's really important to preface while I am talking about this that I haven't figured it out. I'm not an expert. So whatever I say on here, take it, use it if you want. But also I am going to tell you, like, I don't have this shit all figured out. I wish I did, but I don't. So this is all just coming from a lady just trying to do her best. I have kids that range in age from early 20s on down to 4 years old and everything in between. So if there's one thing that I do know, it's about the different stages of life and a lot of the different kind of hiccups and hurdles that you will see. But we'll get into all of that. So first, let's get into some real life updates. For me, I am struggling with missing my kids and a lot of things going on in the house right now because we are in the middle of a wedding marathon. I couldn't feel more blessed to have these weddings that we have. I couldn't, like, there's literally no words for it. But we are in the middle of back to back to back and they're all travel and destination. So every week I'm gone from Thursday to Sunday and then come back and I'm there Sunday night until Wednesday night and then gone again. So again, back to back to back, no big deal. I can do this. This is stuff that I've done a lot, but I just feel a lot of guilt. And I also think maybe I'm kind of struggling a little bit just because if you guys have listened to some of my recent episodes, I talk about how hard it is with having a team and employees and having people that are reliable. And so throughout the course of these weddings, when we all took them on, there wasn't an understanding that me, Aaliyah, and Ella were going to be doing all of them. There was an understanding that different people on the team had different weddings, and so this was going to be a little bit of a circulation, and that has all changed. Again, totally fine. Everything is going amazing, but we just didn't go into that thinking this. But it's actually for the better because we are really kind of rocking and rolling through these really, really well. So actually can't even really complain. Ignore anything that sounds like a negative complaint because it's actually not true. But I do feel a little bit of guilt just being away. My oldest daughter is going through some crazy kind of life trials and tribulations as many young adults do. She's just in the middle of a lot of changes, and as a mom, it's so hard because I am like a 100% total empath. So like anything she feels, I feel it deeply as well. And so it's like, I like physically feel the pain and I know what it feels like. I was a young adult and I made a lot of really crazy choices that had different sets of consequences than what I would have envisioned having. And I had to pick up the pieces and I had to keep going. And this is kind of like where she's at in her life. And so although I know she's probably one of the strongest people and I'm so proud of her for the young lady she has become, it's just kind of like tearing at me. So I think like that in combination with being gone a lot, in combination with feeling guilt, leaving a lot of like the household things on CJ, I'm just like a little out of whack. But it's all temporary and it's all going really smoothly too. So like, what am I even complaining about? Just my own feuds inside. So that's about all I have for life updates for myself right now. For the BTS recap, again, all ties together. We're in the middle of a wedding marathon, rocking and rolling. We just finished one in Northern California. It was an absolute dream. I we're at the Madrona. If you haven't heard of this venue, look it up. It is so charming and absolutely just incredible. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. By the time you guys hear this episode, we will have one more wedding left to go and then an engagement party locally. So very excited for all of these. Please stay tuned and follow us on all of our little social media channels so you can see everything that's going on. Okay, so now to the actual main point of this episode. We're going to get into life balance. Like, how do you even balance? I'm not sure that it's really actually something that's truly achievable, to be honest. I feel like that's the point of life. I feel like we're here on this earth for a short period of time, and we're almost kind of like in a Super Mario Brothers simulation where like every time you get to the next level, then you have to go to like a new world and learn like new trials and tribulations. So whether it's like tortoise shells being spun at you, or like King Cobra, like spitting fire, or like electric eels that shock you. Like, you don't know what it's going to be, but every time you level up or get to that next year in life, you got to learn the new trials and tribulations. And I think throughout this, it's really just one never-ending game of Super Mario Brothers, where you have to really kind of figure this all out. And that's really, truly the whole point of this all. I think that you're constantly in a chase. You have to figure things out, recalibrate, get your bearings together, and then you go again. And you're like, okay, cool, I got this. And then you're like, I don't have this. And so those are the things that I truly feel like this is all together. I almost kind of think that every single time I do get things figured out, it's like, I don't want to be anticipating that things are going to rock the ship, because that's just bad. You just don't want to put that into the air. But like, you almost kind of have to like anticipate that there's going to be like work getting busier, or like the coolest, best new wedding that's a little challenging is going to fall into your lap. Someone is going to get sick and you have to figure that out. Some relative is going to come and visit you for a long time and you got to kind of navigate that. Travel is going to pick up, kids are going to have things going on. And so I truly think that this is like what it's all about. I think that the goal isn't perfect. That's not what the goal is. The goal is not to be perfect and perfect everything. The goal is to like figure it out. And I think that's just when things are probably maybe at their best, is when you are figuring things out. I own two businesses. So obviously you guys know I have BTS, and then I have the Isle podcast. So in the businesses, BTS has been around for 16 years. It's rocking, it's rolling. It's stable. It's doing its thing. There's always changes going on, but like, we've got this, like it's in a good place. The Isle podcast has been going on for several years, and not so much, there's not a lot of momentum there. There's many, many times where I feel like just totally giving up on this, but then I'm like, no, wait, I actually really like doing this. So I'm not giving up on it. So I'm always constantly trying to figure it out. So high pressure, high demands. The switch just totally doesn't turn off, like weddings don't stop, clients don't stop. Things that happen in weddings are never normal, so there's not like a playbook or a manual for this. And it's important that I am at my best at all points in time, because I need to serve our clients. Like, it's just, this is what it's all about. And then in the personal side, I have to be at my best because I need to serve my family. And again, that's what that's all about. So each thing completely requires something totally different from me. One is just kind of, I guess, I don't know what to say. Like, I think like going back to the kids, like every one of my kids is just navigating and kind of going through life and needing something different of me, just like every one of my clients is kind of navigating and going through their wedding planning and needing something different from me. We've got a lot of different variation, and it's all really important. So between this, I've talked about my kids needing things from me and my clients needing things from me, but I have a whole partner that needs things from me as well. And as self-sufficient as he is, he still needs a partner. Like, he didn't go into this all thinking that he was just going to navigate it by himself, while I, travel the world and make dreams come true and parent the kids when I'm home. So that is something that I'm really intentional for and need to like super pour into as well, on just making sure that we do have time that's disconnected and we do have great conversations and we talk about our goals and we go through things. And then I also have to make sure that, you know, before I'm going out of town, that I do have things in place so that things aren't super heavy when it's just him, whether that's grocery shopping or meal prepping or making sure that the cleaning lady has come and laundry is done and fresh towels are out, and, you know, all of those things so that the household can run as smooth as possible. So those are just really important things. I never want CJ to feel like, you know, I didn't sign up for this. You know, that's like kind of one of my biggest fears. And it's something that I'm really, you know, it's always on my mind, and it's something that's important to tend to. So if you guys are going through this as well, just understand that you're not alone. I don't have it all figured out. I am going to go into some things that kind of help, but really life is just about wearing so many different hats, and they're all really important. The direct result from this, as I have talked about, is just the guilt. There's not like real problems, you know, it's just the guilt that I carry around with myself. It's like, just like feeling like I should be here when I'm there, and I should be there when I'm here. And, there's so many times when I'll be like totally disconnected from work and cooking dinner and spending time with my kids, and then I check my phone and one of my brides is like in a complete meltdown because of one thing or another, and I'm like, oh my god, I should have had my phone on me, like she needed me to just kind of help her through this. And obviously it's just, you know, a short delay and I am able to be there, but it doesn't take away that guilt that I feel. Or like when I'm away this past weekend and I'm working on a wedding and I'm super focused and being very present on making sure that my bride has everything she needs and the wedding is all where it needs to be. But then my daughter's texting me and her world is falling apart. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to be home right now, you know? So it's like, it's just that constant kind of guilt that you feel. And there's no cure for that. I think the best thing to do is just remind yourself that you're doing the best that you can do, you know? And if you do completely sacrifice one or the other, are you going to truly be fulfilled, you know? And the answer is probably no. You need all of these parts of your life in order to feel filled. So you have to kind of just fight through that guilt. I think that there's little things that come up, you know, we've just kind of named some big things, but there's little incidents that come up that also build up. And I want to identify those because this might be something that you're feeling as well. So a lot of times, you know, the schools send a lot of emails and there's so many memes that joke about like, how do you keep up with the school emails and all of the announcements? And the truth is, I personally don't. I do the best that I can, but there's a lot of times when I drop Gabriel off at school and it's free dress day and I missed the memo, you know, like I didn't see that was happening. And I feel terrible, but then also it's like I have to remind myself, like, get over it. Like it's just a free dress day. Like there'll be many more. I'll catch the other ones. And then I always just assess too, like what are ways that I can teach my son to be more responsible and to kind of help out with these and, you know, announcements. And just for point of reference, he's going into 5th grade. My youngest is 4, so obviously she can't keep up with school announcements, and I don't expect her to. But, you know, just kind of teaching your kids and communicating with your spouse on ways to kind of help out as well, so that everything doesn't fall on you. Because we've gotten into a society where, unfortunately, we're all taught that everything does fall on mom, and like it really doesn't need to. So I think that is important to know. I feel like there's a little guilt that always comes up, like if I'm absolutely exhausted and depleted because work has taken everything out of me and I'm like, crap, like I could really use a nap right now. Like I just need like a 26-minute nap to kind of get through the rest of the day. But I feel guilty because it's like, well, I was just gone. I need to feel present here. So again, little things that just kind of pile up that I just beat myself up over, when if I were to actually talk to an adult and tell them that, they would be like, why do you feel guilty over this? This is silly stuff. And it's true, but also again, just communicating on here because I know I'm not alone. I know a lot of people feel these things. So it's important. It's important just to discuss. I feel like there are moms that are working that struggle with guilt, and then there are moms that are stay at home that struggle with a different feeling. I don't know what the right term is, but maybe being like unfulfilled, like wanting something outside of just the household or something just for themselves. So regardless of what bucket you are in currently, there's going to be those pros and cons. And I think that that's important to remind yourself too, is like, we're all dealt with a certain deck of cards, and there's good cards and there's bad cards in there, and there's not a single deck of cards that's just filled with good cards. There's just not. So wherever you're at in your situation, you have to be really kind to yourself and remember that if you had a different situation, there would be the same amount of pros and cons. There's just different pros and cons, and so it's like, sometimes it's best to go with the hand that rather than completely blowing up your life and going with something different, because you don't know what kind of struggles you're going to be dealing with in that part. Like, life does never, no matter which path you take, you're not exempt from trials and tribulations, basically. So just always keep that in mind. So one of the first things that slipped, so I talked about kind of going through life and there being points where I feel like I have it all figured out, and then there's points where something just blows up and it's like, and I'm like, oh God, I was like on a good path. Like, what happened? Everything just blew up. And while I am trying to recalibrate and get my bearings all together, things slip. And most of the time, the things that slip are the things that are the most important to me. And I hate that so much. Like, I'm so big into working out and fitness, and like, it's such a good like mental relief for me. It feels so good physically and it really helps. But whenever all my bearings are off, that's the first thing that ends up missing in my life. And that really sucks. Sleep always slips. Podcast time always slips. And these are the things that are like, I'm most passionate about. So I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this, but when sacrifices have to come up, most of the time it's my own sacrifices. I'm not going to sacrifice things for the people that are around me. So I've learned that when I am going through this, I have to pay extra attention to those things, and I have to actually schedule them in and stay really true and keep commitments to myself, because the truth of the matter is that you can do anything. It's just a matter of not allowing your mental state or not allowing other things to kind of pile up. So if this happens to you as well, just know that, again, you're not alone. And the one thing that really helps me is just staying really, really, really diligent to my schedule. When I'm feeling kind of out of whack, I want to sleep in a little bit later. So instead of waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to a 6 o'clock workout, I'm like, no, forget this. I'm sleeping in because I just need that rest. When really it's best to just say like, nope, forget about it. You're getting up, you're going, because that's when you're truly going to feel your best. So there's Emma Greed's book that I have been reading. I think it's called Start With Yourself, if I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, how do I not know this right now? I'm like totally blanking. But there's one thing in there that she said that really got me. And she said, our kids, so if you guys don't have the backstory on her, so she's very, very, very successful businesswoman. And she has 4 kids, and her biggest claim to fame is just that you can do it all, and you can have this all, but you're going to have to sacrifice in different areas. And so there are some things as an entrepreneur that you're not going to be able to do because you do have a family. And there are some things with your family that you're not going to be able to do because you have this booming career. So that's a little backstory on that. But one thing that she said was, our kids don't need us as much as we've been taught, conditioned, or even want to believe that they do. And I was like, well, by gosh golly, this makes so much sense, because a lot of times we put pressure on ourselves thinking like, no, they need me. And it's like, yeah, they do need you, but they don't need you 24 hours a day. They need you for a lot of things, but they don't need you for everything. And I thought that that was a pretty cool kind of statement in the book. And I just wanted to share it for those of you who haven't read it, because it really stuck with me. I think that a lot of times as moms, we, again, are taught like, no, you have to be there for every single thing. And truly you have to be the best you can be, and that's how you're the most impactful for your kids. So if that does mean being there every step of the way, then that's your thing. For me, that doesn't. It doesn't mean that I don't have a career. That doesn't make me the best me that I can be. It means that I have both lanes going. So a lot of times we hold on to things that we think that our kids need because we feel that it makes us feel better, in a way. And I think that mindset needs to kind of like dwindle away. Again, if being the best you does mean that you're staying at home and you are being there at all points of time for your kids, then that's amazing. But if it doesn't mean that, then, you have to try to work through some of that guilt. Some of us need our own identity and we need our own purpose. And a lot of times that's outside of the household, and there's actually truly nothing wrong with that. I think that it's really important if that's what you personally need. So what happens when we spend too much time taking care of everybody else and not ourselves? I think that the same thing that happens when we spend too much time working and not worrying about ourselves. It's burnout, it's complete burnout. It's complete stress or distress. You're just not in a good place. You become resentful. And I think that there's fixes of that. And that is really, truly trying to figure out that balancing act and getting to some sort of a norm, no matter what the world is throwing at you. I want my kids to see me as a role model. I want them to see me strong. I want them to see me do all things. And that's important too. And again, when I'm saying this doesn't mean that somebody that doesn't work isn't strong. That's not what that means at all. This just means this is what my version of this is. This is how I see things. And I think that's important to really know and understand what that means to you. I think that a healthy woman prioritizes all things. They prioritize all things, and they have everything in place in their own order. So, understanding health, understanding marriage, understanding being a mother, understanding having a hobby or a career or whatever that looks like. Those are all important things. And then it just is your job to figure out how this all fits in. So as I'm doing that, it's really important for me to understand how to be present when I am at home and how to be fully present when I am at work. And that's something that I think I work on a regular basis. And it's not easy. It's like, not only do you have to like sit and think about what the task at hand is, but then you also have to sit and think about like, how do I be fully present for this task at hand? So let me just kind of get into some of the things that actually really help me do all of this. So I've kind of rambled on and on and on about what the problems are and what the goals are and what everything else. So now let me tell you things so I'm 41 years old. So throughout this, some things that have I've learned along the way, and I've gotten better at this at 41 than what I was at 33 or 34. And that, those were years that career was really, really taking off, and family was kind of suffering during that time. And understanding that and like looking back at those are like the things that I've always wanted to fix and that I don't want to fall into those things again. So I mentioned a little bit earlier that when things get kind of hard, I have to be really diligent on scheduling. So the scheduling for things is the biggest factor in my life. I live and die by the schedule that's on the calendar that's on my phone. And I put things in that sound absolutely ridiculous, like start cooking dinner and like disconnect, unwind for the night. And in the morning, waking up, working out, getting ready for the day. Like I literally schedule out everything because it helps me understand and stay on track. So throughout all of this, it's not just about the household chores and the work. It's also about like date nights, and it's also about like family vacations or family activities, and really kind of planning those out. So I mentioned being on a wedding marathon and being gone these 3 weeks in a row. Now, when I am back in town, I have to schedule something out in my mind with my family, you know, like something fun, something memorable, something that's like, wow, okay, so I did miss these weeks, but I am here right now. So those are things that are really important, and just kind of staying on track with it. And again, understanding that your schedule isn't just your meetings. It's truly just all the things in your life, especially the things that you see slip. You want to make sure that they don't slip. Next on my list of things that really help me is just identifying what my non-negotiables are, and like really protecting those. So for me, it's not coming into the office on Mondays. Some Mondays I have to work because deadlines and things like that are coming up, but I want to do it from my own home. I want to be there for my kids. I want to drop them off. I want to pick them up. It's my one day where I get to control exactly what goes on. I don't schedule any meetings. I do not come into the office, and I use this day to have some downtime if I have any appointments, anything else. And that way I have this cushion area that's already there. It's also making sure that I am cooking dinner a certain amount of times a week. It's also protecting my workouts and my me time. Those are just all things that are just complete kind of non-negotiables. During the work day, so this is really, really, really important to me, and this might help you guys a little bit too. I have everything mapped out. So I do a lot of time blocking throughout the day, and I have a firm end time. So I leave the office every day at 3:30. That doesn't mean that work stops. A lot of times I pick back up after my kids are in bed, and I work a couple hours if I'm able to. But that 3:30 time spot is my hard out of the office, because that allows me to get home, unwind, spend time with the kids, whether it's pool time, activities when they're in school, it's homework time, it's making sure everything is done, it's cooking dinner, and it's just being fully present at home. So that again is a huge non-negotiable, and it just helps me so much to have some sort of kind of balance. Next up on my list is asking for help. Like, there's so many times when people are like, no, I have to do this or I have to do that, and truly you don't. So whether it's delegating things in the office and making sure that I'm getting help from my girls, whether it's at home and maybe asking my oldest daughter if she can help with some of the pickups, or maybe doctor appointments for the younger ones, is asking CJ if he minds cooking dinner one night when I truly just can't get to it. And I think that that is a big thing. I do have a housekeeper that helps with all of the cleaning. I do have all of my groceries delivered. That is just something that, again, is like a non-negotiable for me, because I don't have those times. I don't have the luxury of kind of pouring into those things. So I outsource them, and I use my time as much as I absolutely can. So that might help a lot too, is just reassure yourself it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to have people that are in your corner and can support you, because although you are Superwoman and you can do hard things, you don't have to do everything. So learn from me and delegate and outsource. Then stop keeping score. You know, like, it's important to be mindful of pulling your own weight, but it's also important that you're not like holding yourself hostage by fully committing to, like, I have to do 50-50 in the house. Like, some days it's not 50-50. Some days it's 80-20. Some days it's 90-10, and that's okay. And that those splits can go one way or another, and that's okay. If CJ needs a little extra help, sometimes I can step up. And if I need a little extra help, sometimes he can step up. And it means that that's okay to do, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. So try not to keep score. Try not to feel like everybody else is keeping score, because truly probably it's only on your mind more than anyone else. So make sure you have a really good schedule, a really good system of routines for as much as you possibly can. Routine for the day, routine for the week, routine for the month, and just making sure that you're really following those kind of patterns, because when life gets really chaotic, those systems and the schedules and the structure is what's going to help ground you, pull you back together, and give you like a centrifugal kind of like center point to be like, okay, I'm off in this area, I gotta like lean back in. This will help me a lot. And then just make sure that you are being fully present where you need to be. I talked about that a lot in this episode, and it's something that I'm super mindful of, is just wherever I am at that point in time, I need to be fully right there. Like right now, recording this podcast, I am fully present in recording it, even though I know I have a meeting coming up in like 15 minutes and it's stressing me out, but like I have to finish this before I can get to that. And if I just half-ass this and then rush into that one half-assed, I'm no good in both places. So it's just a matter of wherever you are at, being fully present, completing your task, and then moving on to the next thing. So throughout all of this, things that I have really learned to kind of like close this out is that perfection and being balanced and having a balanced lifestyle is fantasy. It's the goal is about the journey and about getting to that point. And I don't know if you truly ever get to that point. What I've also learned is that I can't be so strong to not ask for help, because then I'm actually just weak. You know, it's like really important to do this. Also, what I've learned is, again, just keeping score. No one else is really keeping tally. So like, be easy, go easy on yourself. Be the best that you can be. Determine what your own goals are. Your goals do not have to be the same as anybody else's. There was a girl on my team that I had this conversation with, and we go back and forth on it all the time. Like, who are you as a person? Like, what are your actual goals? Like, and if it's this, then go for that. And if it's that, then go for this. Like, you have to make sure that you're okay with what you're doing in life. And that's all that truly matters. And the people that love you and support you are going to understand and be there for that. Because the goal is just making sure that you feel good at the end of this. So thank you so much for sticking with me throughout this podcast and going through this. If this is something that resonates with you, please share with people. If you have questions, please give me feedback. I think it's really an interesting topic. And again, the biggest thing throughout this is that my advice isn't advice for everybody. It's just my advice. It's just my story. It's what I've been through. And that doesn't mean that it has to mean the same for you. It just means that, hey, maybe try this out. This is what I do in life anyways. Like, I pick little pieces from different women that I admire and I adapt them into my own life. And hopefully I can kind of pour into somebody else. So that's my main focus for this. So thank you so much for walking down the aisle this week. Make sure to join us here every Tuesday as we talk about all things weddings. Or entrepreneurship. We are on all podcast platforms. So Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. Be sure to tune in. This episode is releasing on Tuesday. Give us a 5-star rating and a positive review, and we'll see you here next time. Thank you.